You agree with Jeff Ubben's sentiment?
Absolutely. I think Microsoft, whether it's just in the cloud or whether it's the release of Windows 8, the fact that there's a real replacement cycle going on, and just like the tires on your car, every 4 or 5 years you upgrade your PC and you upgrade your systems, and I think Microsoft is in great shape as far as that's concerned.
This whole talk about the death of the PC and this being a structural problem or a change, you don't buy that?
Greatly exaggerated. There's no question. Intel, Western Digital, all the old tech, Rust Belt tech is dirt cheap, unloved, underowned, and they have a lot of things going for them.
Chris, a lot of people talk about the advantages that old tech has right now, cash flow, dividend, all the things that Microsoft has. The question is, can they continue to become a powerhouse with Steve Ballmer still at the top?
Well, certainly there's a lot of criticism of Steve Ballmer, the same way there's criticisms right now of Cook and Apple, but I think it's time for him to stand and deliver. It looks like he has the wherewithal to move forward on that.
Chris, I want to get into Apple because you have mentioned it a couple times, because this is a company that's almost before our eyes making the transition from new hot tech to out of favor old tech in a way, as we have seen so many people selling the stock. The company, as you know, is due out with earnings after the close. What do you think Apple can do? Can it pull a rabbit out of the hat, so to speak? Is there anything like that it can do now to get that mojo back?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether the earnings are going to be the deliverer for Apple. I will say that who knows what happens in the next 2 or 3 months, but at the end of the year, I'm sure Apple will be higher. And the reason for saying that is that the execution risk for them is behind them. They already have the products that are out there. The stock is compellingly cheap. It's almost a yield stock as it approaches 3%. So there's a lot of areas that are going to make investors, particularly those with weak hands that have sold it, suddenly interested in a stock.
But Chris, you have an interesting theory about Apple. I mean, everyone keeps talking about, is it Apple TV? Is it going to be an Apple Watch? You say actually that they should go into content.
Absolutely. I think that would give them a great push. They could, with the cash they have, they could actually buy a network. I mean, we talk about CBS and NBC, Bloomberg, whatever. You could see an Apple network, and that's a way to get really into the living room.
Well, Chris, I got to push back on that. I mean, Apple as a company is notoriously known for keeping really tight controls on everything it does. I mean, do you think it's ever even going to conceive of getting into content if they can't actually control what's being produced?
Well, I think that Apple is really a way of life for most of us. I mean, the iPhones sort of surround us, and the iPad, and no one goes without it. So the next step for them is to say, how can we make money? I mean, obviously, all the apps are a big money maker, and by network and advertising is another way to go.